RC Pro-Am, RC Pro-Am, RC Pro-Am. This game has to be one of my favorites on the NES, and for good reason. Its addicting gameplay and competitive atmosphere with the CPU players really keeps your focus solely on the game and nothing else. It was also made by Rare, who also made the Banjo series on the Nintendo 64. But before we get into the game, may I rant about just one small thing? Why the hell do people put the price sticker over the label? And it's not like you can just peel the sticker off, because it'll probably ruin the artwork. But by being on the label, it's already ruining the artwork anyway because a gigantic ass is covering it up. Like seriously, look what happened to poor Star Force, and worst of all, look what happened to Cycross. You can't even see the price, and someone decided to scribble all over it. It's basically a lose-lose situation, and I'm extremely glad my local game store does not pull this bullshit. Instead, they place the sticker at the bottom of the cartridge, or on the back, where I firmly believe it's meant to go. Anyway, RC Pro-Am is a racing game where you play as RC vehicles, where the main objective is to not finish in last place. Like seriously, you can suck the entire race, but as long as you pass somebody before the first CPU player finishes the race, you'll advance to the next level since you came in third instead of last. And although the first level or two is pretty straightforward, the next levels start adding obstacles like puddles, oil spills, and even retractable walls, the latter of which I seem to always smash into. There are also speed boosts in some of the levels, and are to me almost required to use if you don't want to lose, especially in the later levels. Thankfully, just being lucky enough to pass somebody isn't the only way to advance, as there are power-ups scattered around the course, such as missiles, which shoot opponents in front of you, butt bombs, which can help create distance between you and somebody that's right up your ass, and a force field that causes other cars to spin out if they run into you, and to protect you from exploding if you spin out into a wall. Unfortunately, this doesn't mean that you are invincible, since you can still get sniped by missiles and exploded from butt bombs. But this is only from my experience from doing this to the CPUs, but since they do not use any weapons, it's only fair to assume that the same thing would happen to you. You can also collect tires, which will make your tires stick to the track better, turbo acceleration, which helps you accelerate quicker, and engines, which can give you a higher top speed. When you collect them during a race, you also get a mini speed boost. You might have noticed these weird blinking squares with letters inside of them scattered throughout the tracks in the footage I've shown thus far. Those blinking letters are meant to be collected and spell out the word of Nintendo, of course. Once you get these letters to spell out Nintendo, that's when you'll unlock the next vehicle, which is an SUV. If you are somehow lucky enough to spell out Nintendo again, you unlock the third and final vehicle, which resembles a race car. But good luck getting to that point, because as you keep advancing, the CPUs start to cheat. Especially this yellow bastard over here. Did he happen to install turbo boosters in his car before the race started? Was this driver also a part of the 2017 Houston Astros? Either way, it can be unfair as hell. And although I know that it's because I use my weapons too much, it's still complete bullshit. It's like the game is telling me, "Oh, you think you're a badass? But the truth is, you're bad at being an ass. Let me show you what a true asshole can do." And then it just gives Mr. Trashcan Banger over here rocket engines, making him win automatically. But not before breaking the freaking sound barrier. What I do in that situation is that I think of the yellow car as a timer, since you are never going to pass him, much less get remotely close to him. But using him as a timer makes it so your main goal is just to pass somebody, anybody, before he finishes. Because if you're in last place when he crosses the line after his final lap, then it's basically tough shit. Technically the screen afterwards says game over, but luckily the game will give you another chance if you lose only once, so then you can at least try again. And if you collect a letter during the race that you lost, you don't lose it. Instead, the game will allow you to keep it and spawn in the next letter, so the trade-off isn't too bad. But you better get third or better that race, or you'll get a real game over. I think if you go a race or two afterwards without getting last place, you'll also get another chance without a real game over. But I honestly haven't looked into it much. All I know is that I got extra chances even after having previous losses on earlier tracks. Another thing that I think I ought to mention would be the steering, which I know might be frustrating to some people, and even me sometimes when I'm having a poor run. But in my honest opinion, the steering is quite neat. You have to know exactly how much to steer in order to not bonk into the edge of the track, which can either slow you down considerably, especially on tracks with boost, or just stop you completely. But whenever you have that magic touch and take a turn perfectly, it just feels awesome. almost as if you're an unstoppable force. Unfortunately, you will end up actually losing eventually. Before you have to start from level 1 again, you at least get to go on the high score leaderboard. My final thoughts on RC Pro-Am is that it's definitely one of the best games in the NES library. And it doesn't matter what area of gaming you grew up in, or whether you were born long after the NES stepped out of the spotlight like I was. It is a game that I think everybody should sit down and play at least once in their lives. Sure, it doesn't have an elaborate storyline, or a bunch of lore, but rather, it's just a simple game where if you have half an hour to kill here or there, this will definitely take up that time, and thankfully not too much longer. And most of the negatives I've expressed here today are not at all what my true feelings are for this game, because if I only gushed about my feelings for the game, this video would have ended when I said it was one of my favorite games on the console. Now, although that is all I have to say about RC Pro-Am, it also had a sequel on the Game Boy called Super RC Pro-Am. Unfortunately, I have no real way to record the game, so it'll just have to be shelved for a later date. But wait a minute, there was actually an RC Pro-Am 2 released for the NES.
Let me just shop around for it real quick, and... oh, damn it.